and music while baby wearing. Just social activities to support maternal and infant wellness and bonding. Also a social worker, and so I love working with families to help you bond and make parenting just a little bit easier. One of those ways is through baby wearing, and we'll talk a little bit about that today. We're going to talk about some baby wearing basics, some safety tips and types of carriers. There's all kinds of carriers out there, different material, just some basics that we'll talk about today. Baby wearing tips for success. I want you to be safe while baby wearing. So let's think about some things that you would not do while baby wearing. That would be riding a horse, riding a bicycle, jumping around while you are carrying your baby. Just like if you were pregnant and you were being safe and making sure that you don't harm your baby. Same with baby wearing. We want to make sure that you and baby are safe and do not fall, or that you don't shake your baby. So baby wearing is a skill. These are the basics today. There's so much that you can do with baby wearing, but know that it may take a little bit of practice to get comfortable. You want to be comfortable putting baby in and taking baby out of your carrier. And you could start with using a doll or a stuffed animal, or practicing over your bed when you are learning to wear your baby. We want to make sure that we carry baby properly. And that means that baby has an open airway, M-shaped position, spread squat position, and that you are comfortable. So, sorry, I can't read that. I want to make sure. Body positioning. Okay. So the ABCs of baby wearing safety, we want to make sure that your baby's airway is open. So we want to make sure that their chin is not down to their chest. You want to make sure that their airway is open and their head is positioned on your chest where you're close enough to kiss. And then positioning, we want to make sure that that baby's hips are in a spread squat position and like an M shape. So that their hips and bottom are in a comfortable position to support their spine and neck and hips. We also want to make sure that you're comfortable, that your temperature, hydration of the baby, that you're not too warm and baby's not too warm. So that would mean in the winter, you make sure that baby is wearing clothes that are covering up their skin if it's really cold outside, covering their ears, but that their face is open and their airway is open. In the summer, we want to make sure that you and baby don't get too hot. And so that might mean having less clothing on, maybe just wearing a onesie, something that would help you and baby stay cool, but not putting any type of cooling towel or any type of cooling apparatus between you and baby. So those are the ABCs of the baby wearing safety. And then here is a diagram I want to tell you about from the Hip Dysplasia Institute. We want to make sure that baby is in a spread squat position rather than in a C shape with their chin down to their chest and their legs folded. You can see there that the best position is upright, and so that your baby's face is visible on your chest. Baby wearing tips for success. Choose a carrier that works for you. And this means that you might need to try on a few different styles of carrier, find out how old and what weight range for your baby that the carriers, let's try that again. Baby wearing tips for success. Choose a carrier that works for you and your baby. And questions that you might want to ask is, how old is baby and what is their weight? So different carriers are for children at different stages. So they might carry a newborn or from ages 7 pounds or weight 7 pounds and up, or it might be more for a toddler carrier. So that's something to consider when purchasing a baby carrier or you're looking to practice with that carrier. We have some suggestions for ring slings or wraps for newborn carry. or those same ring slings can be worn clear up until toddlerhood, but you may want a different type of fabric. So let's get down to the types of carriers. And the first type of carrier is a wrap. I have a Moby wrap here, and this carrier is called a stretchy wrap. There are also different types of material with a stretchy wrap or a hybrid wrap that would allow you to, they would all feel a little bit differently, and they would allow you to carry up to different weights. So a stretchy wrap is best for that newborn time. And on the instructions, it will say the weights that you can carry up to. This particular carrier is for 8 to 35 pounds. So I find that that's really helpful during that newborn time, the newborn stretchy wrap. There are also woven wraps that are made out of a little bit different material. They're not stretchy, and they're a little bit more supportive for children who are older or weigh a little bit more. With your stretchy wrap, you find the center. I like to wrap it up high and around. And I'm going to create some angel wings. Wings up and bring them over. And I'm going to tuck my tails. So I created a cummerbund, created angel wings, and then I have these tails, and I tucked my tails in my cummerbund. Depending on how stretchy your wrap is, you'll want to make sure that you tighten it here. I like to finger walk through the material to make sure that it's not bunched up. And then we're going to create a seat for the baby. So we're going to cross and then bring the material around and tie a knot. Right over left, left over right, a square knot. All right, so we have our cummerbund here, and we have a cross where the seat will be. You bring baby to you, and again, you can practice with a stuffed animal or a doll as you get used to wearing the different carriers. So I'm going to welcome baby's feet through. And you can see here, I've created a seat for the baby. And I'm going to take the inside panel and create a seat, knee-to-knee support. And knee-to-knee support. So I like to do the inside panel first and then the outside panel and create that seat. I have an M shape, spread squat position. Baby's high and tight, close enough to kiss and monitor their airway. And we bring the support up to their nape, but not over their head. And then tuck their feet into the cummerbund. Okay, so that gives it extra support here. All right, and their feet, I can monitor the temperature and hydration of their feet. They're getting good circulation. If it was cold outside, we make sure that they have socks on. And then I'm going to reach back and make sure that this is tied good. And we check baby often. Okay, and so their face is visible. Spread squat position. And then if you're wanting to bring baby out, you untie here with one hand support. Oh, I'm sorry. You got to go back. Delete that. All right, so to take baby out, you'll want to bring down your cummerbund. And bring the panels over. And you can lift baby up and out, and put baby down in a safe place, and then you can untie. Or you could always leave your carrier tied if you needed to hop into the car, the baby's safely in the car seat, and then you could put baby back into the carrier, just making sure that you bring up any slack and make sure that it's tied properly. And that way it's easy for the next time you bring baby into the carrier. So the next carrier we're going to talk about is a soft structured carrier. So soft structured carrier, different ones, again, have different age range and size, weight sizes for the babies. This particular carrier can be worn from the newborn stage or from 7 pounds. And it's a soft structured carrier, which means they have a buckle and bulky, well, bulky is not the word, a waistband and 2 shouldered support. This particular carrier has mesh, so it's a little bit more breathable during activities such as dancing or walking, and it also can be very adjustable for newborns. So I like to make sure that I have my shoulder straps adjusted and the panel adjusted correctly. So I've put on my carrier, make sure that they're through the safety loop. I hear the buckle click. I adjusted my straps. We're going to bring baby to us. And we're going to bring the carrier up and around. Okay, so here I need to make sure that I tighten my shoulder straps and the back strap. We're going to try this again. Sorry. All right, our next carrier is a soft structured carrier. It has a panel and shoulder straps. We'll put it on kind of like an apron. I have the belt. We're going to put it through the safety loops, if it has safety loops, and then make sure that it clicks and tighten. Bring baby to you and the carrier up and around, one arm through, the other arm through, and we're going to reach back and hear it click. Here is where you want to adjust your straps. You want to make sure baby's face is visible. So I'm going to adjust my panel for a smaller baby so that the panel is not in front of baby's face. You can adjust your back straps so that they create a secure fit to your body. And you can pull your shoulder straps here. Okay, so that created a good seat for the baby. Spread squat position. Your shoulder straps are secure. Baby's face is visible. You can check their airway. To come out of this carrier, you have one hand on baby and reach around. So normally I have these a little bit higher. That makes it easier to bring baby out and to get the carrier off when you're by yourself. So I've unclicked the shoulder straps, bring one arm out, have one hand on baby, Bring the other arm out and put baby in a safe place. And then you can take off the belt. Okay, so that was the soft structured carrier. The next carrier I want to talk about is the Asian style carrier. It's a carrier that has a panel with a waist strap and shoulder straps. There is a variety of different styles of carriers. Some have longer straps and some have shorter straps, which is great for plus size baby wears. It allows you a little bit extra fabric to get that extra good fit. So this you'll wear like an apron. The shorter straps are the waist straps, and you tie it around you like and do a square knot, right over left, left over right. Asian style carrier is also a good option because the panel is adjustable. It offers a narrow seat for newborns, and you can adjust the panel height. So that makes it a good choice for younger babies. So I have, you bring baby to you. We've adjusted the seat already, so it's narrow for my young baby. You bring shoulders up, straps up. I like to reach back and go down and across. Reach back, down, and across. And some carriers you tie here and move the knot down. Or with this particular style, I bring it across. And I tie in the back. Okay, and so we have a good seat, spread squat position for baby, good spine support, baby's face is visible and close enough to kiss. Baby's not too warm. To bring baby out of this carrier, I had tied my knot to the side so I know which one to untie. I'm going to untie the shoulder straps. One hand on baby, bring the straps down and over, and bring baby out. Put baby in a safe place, and then you can take off the carrier. This one also folds up really nicely and fits inside of the diaper bag. It might take a few tries to get the feel of a woven wrap and know where the straps go, but practicing and practicing will be super helpful for you. So that's an Asian style carrier. They also called Meidai or Meitai. That is a carrier that you can find that have a lot of different lengths in the waist straps and the shoulder straps. All right, and our next carrier is the ring sling. And this is another great option for that newborn time, all the way up to toddlerhood, depending on the material and type of fabric that you get for your ring sling. With a ring sling, you want to make sure that your rings are solid, that there are no breaks in your rings. And then your material, there's a lot of different options. This Studio Tacchini is made out of really thin material, which is wonderful for the summer or warmer months. And when you're wearing a ring sling, you put your rings in your right hand for your right shoulder with your tails to the right. Or if you want to wear on your left, take it in your left hand with the tail to the left. I like to wear, I used to start with my right hand, and I put my other arm, my free hand through, and create a little space for the baby. Make sure that your rings are up high. You want to start with them up high so you can make adjustments. And here I've created a little pouch for the baby Make sure that there's no twists in the fabric. I start up high, bring baby to you, welcome baby's legs through, and we're gonna bring the material up, but like we're gonna put it over its head, but we would never put the material over the baby's head. Bring it up to its nape, and then we're gonna also create a seat. So I have the material here, and I reach in while supporting baby and create a seat by bringing the material up to the baby's belly button. And they got a spread squat position. The material's up to their nape, supporting baby, and I'm gonna bring the material down and across to tighten the third part of the rail, the center, and then the bottom part. So it's in thirds. I've tightened the top, I tightened the center, and I've tightened the bottom. Okay, and that's created a secure seat. Baby is close. This gives you at least one free hand that can help you with whatever you might need to do, and supporting baby's neck. And just like that. With coming out of this carrier, you can lift your rings. It loosens the fabric. Pop the seat up and bring the carrier up and over. Put baby in a safe place. And so that's another great option. And early on, the baby may not want to sit in that spread squat position, so they may still have their legs kind of froggied in inside of your carrier. And so you would apply, put on the carrier the same way. Bring baby to, welcome them through the material. But that little young newborn may not want to put their legs out. So you want to make sure that you're still creating a seat for the baby where they're sitting on their bottom and not their little legs, not their little toes, and bring up the slack towards the rings and tighten by bringing down and across, down and across, down and across. And this way we still have support up to the neck. Baby's face is visible, and their seat, they're still sitting on their little bottom, and their legs are froggied inside. And as long as they're not sitting on their little toes, this is a good place for that little baby to hang out and be close and snuggly and get that skin to skin. On to bring baby out, you support their bottom, bring the carrier up and over, and put baby in a safe place. So those are our various types of carriers. And there are a lot of hybrid carriers as well that are also great options. So really about trying different carriers on, getting the type of fabric that you want, and checking the age and weight limit of your particular carrier that you're interested in. The early times newborn carry with the stretchy wraps, or an Asian style carrier, or a soft structured carrier that is good with a narrow seat to support the newborn stage. As they get older, carriers that have a wider seat, you can wear into toddlerhood, and as their legs grow. So the type, taking care of your carriers. You'll want to make sure that your carrier, you check your carrier frequently. You want to make sure you check the buckles and make sure that there's no cracks or no tears in your carriers, and then washing them properly as well. Checking into the directions on your particular carrier, making sure that you wash them maybe inside of a pillowcase or something that will protect them when they're in the wash machine. And I prefer to hang up my carriers rather than drying them in the dryer. So one of the great ways to learn different types of carries, different types of carriers, is maybe checking out other baby wearers. Seek out other families or parents that are baby wearing. Find a baby wearing group in your area, baby wearing dance classes, and even companies that may have lending libraries or opportunities for you to explore and feel and try on all the different types of carriers that are out there. We have a couple questions that came up, and we're going to answer those. So what does it mean when you say the leg should be in an M shape? That is a great question, and let me go into that a little bit. The importance of providing a good seat for your baby is so that you can support their hip and spine development. And just as we would carry a baby on our chest, we want to the carrier is just a way to support us carrying our baby just as we naturally would. But if we have a baby that's just like dangling their legs this way, that might be really uncomfortable for the baby or for you as wearing the baby. And so we want to make sure that they have a good seat. And that looks like an M. So we have the soft structured carrier, and rather than baby's legs just dangling here, we want to make sure that they have a good seat. That baby's hips, it looks the shape of a J. So once I've put my carrier on, I've buckled all my buckles. Somebody else was wearing my carrier. They had longer arms than me. So we buckle here, and we want to make sure that baby and the carrier, the wearer, are comfortable. So to me, a deep seat would be where the weight is mostly on their bottom. Their hips, they come in a good J shape. Their hips are here, and they have knee-to-knee support. And that's what we mean by a spread squat position or an M shape, so that we put the weight on their bottom, their knees come up, and so that's in the shape of an M. And then a J shape would be for their spine. Here we want to make sure baby's face is visible and not in a C shape. Their chin is not down to their chest, but rather their face is visible and high and tight. So that positioning, M shape, just means that we have a good spread squat position. Now, if this baby was still really, really young, or maybe not wanting to have their legs spread, it might be a little bit early or for this type of carrier and wearing. But we want to make sure that baby's legs aren't too far out. So that would look like if a carrier, I can even adjust this one and show you. So let's say that my baby is 6 months old, but my carrier was made for a toddler. Then their legs would get lost in here. And so their legs would be spread out too far, and there's nowhere for their little feet to go. So that's not offering the best position for your baby. You want to make sure that their knees are here and they're in a good spread squat position or M shape, rather than their legs being up high. Or you might see someone wearing a baby here, and they get lost in the carrier, and their legs might be not comfortable or hidden. And so we can't really see where baby is at, what their positioning is like, whether or not they're getting enough air. And so we want to make sure that we bring baby up close, high and tight, and have a good positioning for their hips and spine. Were there any other questions? So when is my baby ready to be facing forward facing in a carrier? That's another great question. Forward facing carriers can be fun, and you might seem that the baby is really excited to face forward. A couple things we want to be aware of developmentally as is the baby able to hold their head up? If a baby cannot hold their head up and their head is going down to their chest and they're forward facing, you can't really monitor their airway. Another thing to be mindful of is, does your carrier manufacturer allow for forward facing? So you'll want to make sure that the carrier that you have is best suited for forward facing. And another thing to be mindful of is carriers that are forward facing, the way that the baby is sitting in the carrier is that they're kind of, there are really good carriers out there that still allow for that M shape spread squat position with their hips like they're seated. And those are great carriers to support a forward facing position, rather than maybe a baby just kind of dangling forward, because that might be uncomfortable on their little groin area, or it might be uncomfortable to the baby wearer if the baby is kind of just up here and hanging, and you're trying to compensate for, make sure that your back isn't hurting. So we want to make sure that you still maintain a good supported seat position while baby is forward facing. And you want to make sure your baby has good head and trunk control. And you want to make sure that your baby does not fall asleep. So this baby, I think his head turns. There we go. So if he were forward facing and if he fell asleep, his head and his chin would come down and it would close off. It could close off their airway. So you want to make sure that they are awake and alert, and they may developmentally really only be able to handle forward facing for a short amount of time. They could be overstimulated, easily overstimulated. And so that's just something to be more mindful of when you have them forward facing. So really it depends on the age and development of the child. And looking at your manufacturer's instructions to find out when they can forward face, and being mindful of their head and neck and trunk control, and making sure they aren't getting too sleepy or too overstimulated facing the world that's out there. Thank you for joining me today on Baby Wearing Basics. I welcome you to join the Babypalooza Baby Wearing group. And that is a great place to ask more of your questions. I'll pop in on Mondays and Tuesdays to answer any of those questions that you still have. I look forward to seeing you next time in our next class.